of the club. She was coached by Corey Curry and won several awards. She was down at Concordia University in Michigan on a track scholarship for 4 years, and now she's back at the University of Windsor Teachers College. And I'm not sure what she's going to talk about, but we're looking forward to her speech.
Thank you for having me here. So if you had asked me a little over 6 years ago what I thought I would have been doing tonight, I definitely wouldn't have thought I would be here. Because a little over 6 years ago, I didn't know Brantford Track and Field Club was a thing. I wasn't running. I didn't know running was anything outside of a punishment in another sport. But a little over 6 years ago, there was a teacher's strike, and all school extracurricular activities were canceled. And I went from doing basketball, rugby, volleyball, the musical, activism, and a couple other things to nothing. And this was my grade 11 year, so I didn't really know what to do. So my parents, knowing that I like to be active, thought, okay, let's look up what's still available in the city to do. So all the sports I was familiar with had either already had their sign up or were in season. And so my mom was like, oh, there's a Brantford Track and Field Club. Do you want to try that? It's running. I was like, what is this running you speak of? Like, I had done the Brantford Classic Run, but that was my only experience. So I said, sure, why not? Let's try it. It's something new. It's something different. Let's go for it. So I went to my first practice, and it was going to be an easy 30-minute run. Well, the then easy 30-minute run person that I was running with was a OFSA medalist for cross country. So their easy was my full-out effort. And I remember finishing the run and being totally exhausted. I tried to just not breathe too loud and tried to stay on my feet, both of which did not happen. I definitely fell on that run, and I definitely was very loud. But I finished, and I wanted to go back to the next practice. And the next practice was Hilbert Heats. And if you're a runner, you know you either hate hills or you love hills. Most runners hate hills, though. So I would do half of the hills. But I was always way at the back, and I could see everyone off in the distance running up the hill, and I knew that that was somewhere where I wanted to be, but I just wasn't there yet. And so I kept practicing, I kept getting a little faster, but everyone was still very far away in workouts when I would do them. But eventually it came time for me to do my first race. It was an indoor 1,500 meter in Toronto. And I remember Corey, my coach, said, oh, you might want to get some spikes. And I was like, what are spikes? And he told me they're like a special shoe for the track, and I said, okay, where do I get them? What do they look like? He was like, go to this store, tell them you need spikes, they'll give you some. Okay, sounds official. So I went, got some spikes, I showed up to the meet, and I was like, look, I got spikes. He's like, those are cross-country spikes. I was like, there's different spikes. And he was like, yeah, the pins in the shoes are different lengths. So he was like, as long as they don't check the bottom of your shoes, you can run in them on the track. They just won't be happy about it. So I ended up doing my first 1,500 meter in cross-country spikes, which is very awkward if you've never done it before, which I assume no one in this room has. And I also came dead last out of 75 girls. So my first race ever, I came dead last, and that was the moment I fell in love with running. Because I realized for the first time ever, I didn't have to compare myself to anyone else. That time I'd run was my personal best. And it was the most effort I could have put forth on that day. And that was what truly mattered. And I've never felt that in any other sport. So my parents asked me if I enjoyed it. And to their surprise, I said yes. But I was very competitive, so that surprised them. So I kept going back to practice. I kept getting faster. And eventually I caught up to those groups that were ahead of me. And it started to go into outdoor track. There were some road races and some 5Ks, and my 5K time at the time was a 28:50. And so in the next 5K I ran, it was just under 25 minutes. And this was near the end of grade 11. And I remember that summer, Corey said, you know, if you can eventually run under 22, you might be able to get a scholarship to the US. And I'm thinking, I'm running just under 25 minutes. Like, how am I going to get to below 22 minutes? But that became my next goal. So that was the target, under 22. So going into grade 12, I managed to run under 22. And that winter, Corey pulled me and my friend early to practice, and he said, hey, there's a school in Michigan, a small NAIA school, and the coach there wants to offer you a scholarship. My friend and I both looked at each other and we were like, what? That doesn't make sense, that's crazy. And so I started talking to the coach, and I went for a visit, I ended up loving it, and 2 weeks later after I went on my visit, I signed my letter of intent to go to school in the US on a track scholarship, which no one thought was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to be a collegiate athlete. My plan was set. I was going to go to high school an extra year, I was going to finish my French certification, and then I was going to go to McMaster. I had it all planned. But this opportunity came up, and I took it. And sometimes, with situations in life, you don't know whether it's the right one, and you don't know whether you should take it. But sometimes, it turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. So, I ran over those 4 years, and the goal was just for me to maybe score points my last year of university in our conference. And I kept getting faster at a rate that no one really expected. I didn't expect it. And I remember my first year for indoor track, I actually made it to indoor track nationals. And I came close to last in that race, but just seeing everyone's motivation and determination and drive to be there and run fast times and want to be the best that they could be and bring it on that day inspired me. So the following year, I had to set some goals for indoor track and outdoor track, and I put the All-American. I didn't really know what All-American meant, I just knew everyone wanted to be All-American. So I put it on my list of goals, and I remember going into my meeting with the head track coach, and he said, you know, you didn't make the finals last year, like you have to make finals to get a chance at being All-American, like maybe don't put that as a goal. And I was like, wait, you don't want me to reach for that? Like, you don't like my goal? And so we changed it to just make finals. But in my heart and my mind, I knew that my goal was still to become an All-American, even if no one else believed me. So I went into that race and I made finals. So finals came around, I was very nervous, and I was like, no one believes that I should be here, at least coaching-wise. My parents were there, they believed me. And, well, I think they had to believe me. And so I went into the finals, and I crossed the line 7th, and All-American is top 8. So, so I did something that no one believed I could, and I made it my goal from that point on to do what people told me I couldn't, in a good way. Don't go against what people tell you that you shouldn't do if it's bad. But when someone would tell me my goals were too high, I would set them higher and just see what happened. Because one of my favorite quotes is Walt Disney's, if you can dream it, you can do it. And sure, some people might think that this is a crazy quote because not every time you dream something, it happens. But I love this quote because if you can dream it, you can work towards it. And even if you don't do it, but you know that you've worked as hard as you could to get there and you achieved your best result, that's you doing it, even if you didn't necessarily get the outcome you thought. So I continued working through my 4 years of university, and my senior year rolled around, and the one thing I hadn't done was become a national champion. And no one ever put that on my list of goals. No one thought it was possible. My coach didn't say it was possible. But I thought, why not set my goals high? Why not just put something on there that I don't think is necessarily possible and no one else thinks is? So I put it on there, but my senior year I got a stress fracture in my foot at the beginning of the year for cross country. And at that point, people were telling me, like, you're probably not going to have a cross country season, like, you might as well just slow down, give yourself a break. But from what the doctor was telling me and what my cross-country coach was telling me, it wasn't out of the question to have a little bit of a season. So I trained every day, and I worked hard on recovering as well as keeping my endurance up so that I could have a cross-country season. And then I could go into indoor track, and I could work on outdoor track where I would run the marathon, because my division had a marathon for the collegiate athletes. And so when the marathon rolled around, I was very nervous. Everyone tells you, when you run a marathon, like, you're gonna hit the wall, you're not gonna know what to do, like, it's gonna hurt, you're probably gonna wanna stop. It's true. You probably will hit a wall, and it is gonna hurt. That's okay, because I just told myself when that happened was to put one foot in front of the other. And I could hear people behind me, and I could see people in front of me, but I just focused on my race and knowing what I could push myself to do, because either way, that day was going to be something that I'd never achieved before. So it was going to be the best that I'd ever put out. And I crossed the finish line as the person who won the marathon, when I didn't think that it was possible. And I just remember crying, because I was like, I set this as a goal that I didn't think was possible. And at the beginning of my 4 years of university, no one thought was possible. But if you have big dreams, when you achieve them, it feels so good. And even if you start with a little dream, a little goal, and you work towards it, when you get there, it's so rewarding. And if you don't get there, it's rewarding knowing that you tried to get there. So now that I'm out of university, I still have big goals. I have goals to represent Canada. I have goals to go to the Olympics. And before that, my goal was to try and sign an athlete contract. So I remember as soon as I graduated, because you're not allowed to have a sponsor when you're in university, I started sending out contracts. I started calling all the connections I'd made through university, because I was told that that was how you had to do it. And I remember I sent out one of my resumes and heard nothing, so I sent it out again like a week later. I was like, oh, did you get my email? Like, maybe my email didn't work, I don't know. And then I got a call, and within an hour after I was talking to that person, I signed my first athlete contract. And it wasn't necessarily because of the results, it was because of the passion of sharing a love for something, for a sport. If you care so deeply about something, don't let anyone tell you that you can't achieve what you want to achieve, or that you can't do it because maybe it's not what seems normal, or it's not what everyone else is doing. Because if you love something, stick with it. And so when I signed that contract, it was one of those moments along my timeline of lofty goals, and I was like, okay, check, what's the next one? And I always like to say that I have 3 goals in advance of the goal that I'm trying to achieve next, because I never want to stop striving for something. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Once you reach a goal, just keep setting more goals. And tell people your goals, because then other people know. So I'm going to tell you my goal is to go to the Olympics one day for the marathon, and my goal is to represent Canada for long distance running. Those are my goals, and I encourage you to set goals like that too. And keep yourself accountable for them. So with my sponsorships as well, tonight they've sent me stuff to give to you guys, and there's a draw for shoes at the back, so if you haven't filled out the ballot, make sure you fill that out. But if I can leave you with one last thing, it's just keep working hard, keep doing what you love, and don't let anyone tell you that what you're doing is crazy or not worth it, because it will be. And congratulations on a great year.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Very inspirational. And all off from your head, unlike my speeches. That was just great. You achieved a lot of things in a very short period of time, and it shows everyone out here in the room what can be done. So congratulations on all that, and all the best success with Teacher School and achieving those 3 steps up. I hope you do it.